Thank you for joining me today. I've been racing through a number of things recently, which in the way of TV type shows, and I've watched so many things recently I haven't talked about. I really want to cover some of these things off. So today I'm going to go through what I've seen recently in terms of shows that I've been catching up on and really just doing some Netflix binges. So shows I want to talk about for this week are number one, The Punisher, Stranger Things 2, definitely want to talk about that, and Mindhunter, which I'm kind of halfway through at the moment. I'm really enjoying that. And also wanted to talk on The Expanse Season 2, which has come out on Netflix. I've been catching up on that one as well. So first off, let's start with Punisher. I love The Punisher. I think it's really entertaining. I think there's a lot of stuff about guns and violence and these kind of things today. I thought what Punisher did really well was the way it dealt with some of the more serious aspects of this. The repercussions of gun violence, the PTSD, the way this affects people. I thought that was really clever. Rather than just being an out-and-out celebration of gun violence, which I think would have felt distasteful. I have a problem when things get postponed because they happen too close to a tragedy. Tragedies happen all the time, and I think you'd be very hard-pressed to schedule anything in terms of releasing something like The Punisher without at least having some risk or some thought in the back of your mind of what happens if something happens too close to it. I think moving it was probably the right thing, but when you're going to release something like this where it's not going to come close within weeks of some kind of gun-related disaster. Anyway, the show itself it is entertaining. It is clearly showing an awful lot of gun violence, but I think it balanced it quite well. I think that was what made it sort of interesting for me. One thing I will say is that in comparison to other Marvel Netflix series, such as particularly Luke Cage and Iron Fist, I felt this was a very well balanced overall season. I didn't feel like it lagged. I didn't feel like we lost pace at any time. I thought it really kept going with a decent momentum. We didn't get too many filler episodes, and even when we did, they were full of good backstory and good commentary, and I think it had a lot to offer. Really interesting series, thought-provoking, and it didn't make me sort of recoil thinking, oh, this is terrible, I shouldn't be watching this. For that, great series, and I'm going to give it a solid 8 out of 10. Really good show. I loved it. I thought it was fabulous. I breezed through it in a couple of days. Great show. Moving on now to Stranger Things 2. Actually finished that before we even started The Punisher. Stranger Things 2, for me, it did exactly what it needed to do. Set out to kind of recapture some of what had happened previously in the last season. I loved the first season of Stranger Things. I thought it was a great show. It was very nostalgic. It does tap into that sort of 1980s background. The fact this is set in 84, one of the best years ever for cinema. You've got Terminator in the cinema. You've obviously got the guys dressing up as Ghostbusters for Halloween. It's a really feel-good, warm show. But I thought what was great about it was how they managed to introduce new characters who are interesting. We're introduced to, let's say, some of Eleven's former compatriots. 11 is separated from the group, so we get a slightly new dynamic. And there are new members coming into the group, introduced within the school, in the form of Mad Max. And that is really nicely sort of filling out and introducing little new dynamics to the ensemble. It still had that nostalgic feel, very much so. It did feel like it grew in terms of the threat of the villains. I think having a bunch of smaller, instead of having one Demogorgon from the first series, having a bunch of Demodogs, which are sort of lower powered, I thought it was fine. And the overall threat of this sort of interdimensional being that's coming to them, I thought was great. The acting is superb as ever. I think the child actors in this show are great. I hope they go on to really good things. And yeah, I felt overall it didn't really have much in the way of weak spots. It's still got some open questions, and you can see how for a 3 to 4 series arc, I can't see them running out of pace before 4 series. So I'm hoping they tied up nicely, similar to Breaking Bad. Don't take it too far. Don't milk this too much. 1 or 2 more series, I think would be really great. Maybe 3 would be pushing things. For my money, anyway. I gave Netflix's Stranger Things Season 2 a 9 out of 10. Took me straight back to where I was before. Loved it. Fantastic. Now, Expanse Season 2. Expanse is, again, one of those criminally underrated shows. Not enough people are watching it. I'm finding it hard to find anyone in the UK who's heard of the show or has dialed into it. It's kind of buried somewhere in your Netflix. And it's very hard for me to communicate much with people who like the show. There are a few people I know on Facebook who enjoy it, and I love it. I think it's fascinating to watch this fabulously created world. Let's say some of the physics, even if some of the physics wasn't accurate, okay, let's say that some of the way they portray Martians being on Earth, let's say that's not exactly what would happen. It feels right. It feels so much an attention to detail. I love that about it. I thought it dealt with this kind of off-world, in-world way that, as I said on my review of Expanse Season 1, for me is a worthy successor to Firefly. It's delving into world building. It's not just about the big spaceships and big space battles and that kind of stuff. It's much more about the characters. It's about crafting a world that you can immerse yourself in, and I love it for that. I think it's got a really good vibe. The characters are fleshed out. I'm loving the way they're introducing and building on top of these dynamics that we've seen in the first series, where you've got a character who's very clearly a psychopath, and you see his friends, or unable to emotionally connect with people. They build on that, and it's building and building slowly, and some of the scenes in the show are just tragic. The scenes involving young children who are subjected to experiments, very similar to what's going on in Stranger Things. It's tragic, and it's really sort of wrenches at your heartstrings if you have kids of your own, and if you find that kind of subject really emotive, and I do. For that, it's again a wonderful season. I gave that season a 9 out of 10 as well. Expanse Season 2 is a great show. If you haven't seen it, go ahead and give it a look. It's wonderful. Last show to talk about, I'm still in the middle of this one, so I'm up to episode 5, and that is Mindhunter. Now, this is also on Netflix. I do have other streaming channels and stuff as well, but I happen to be on a bit of a thing with Netflix at the moment. I'm really enjoying it. I really do love the vibe with this show, Mindhunter. I was watching it with my wife. She can't get into it at all. Couldn't get into the show. Really didn't enjoy it. Was quite bored by it. It is a slow burn. It is slow. I said methodical for other things in the past, but I'd say it's slow. But I'm loving the way they are introducing such fascinating characters. It's a really interesting time. If you don't know anything about it, it's set in the 1970s, as we are understanding the concept of serial killers for the first time. And it's about spending time understanding who serial killers are and following these agents who are undercover trying to sort of get behind the mind and the psyche of the serial killer. It references some really quite dark, really very dark actually material within the show. It covers topics that you see treated in other shows like your sort of CSI type stuff. But this one, instead of it being a sort of episodical weekly one and done, it's got this through line, and we're following this one intriguing character in the sort of the build up and creation of a serial. As we go through them, understanding how the serial killer mind works, and speaking, some of the characters of the serial killers in the show they're captivating. You constantly feel on edge watching them, but throughout the whole show, we're also following this burgeoning, developing serial killer, and that was that was quite. It was mesmerising to watch. It's got me gripped. Like I said, I'm up to episode 5. I think I'm going to race through this now that I've got Punisher out of the way. I did kind of take a little break just to get stuck into Punisher, but I think once Punisher's out of the way, now I'm going to really sort of settle down. And I love this show. It's classy. It's reminding me of a sort of cross between a sort of Without a Trace mixed with, I don't know, a bit of Mad Men for that sort of the period suits, the sort of brown suits that they're wearing, classic sort of 70s brown suits. I thought it was lovely. Maybe a bit of True Detective thrown in there as well. Lovely, lovely show. Really gripping. I won't get. I'm guessing my score is trending in the 8 to 9 kind of area at the moment. More towards an 8, I think. So that's a rough idea of where I'm going on that show. So thanks for watching this. If you've seen any of these shows or got any comments on any of these shows, look forward to hearing from you. I felt I'd do this as one big video rather than try and sort of split it out amongst 4 separate videos. Just go and cover off a little bit of a TV update. And yeah, I'm loving these shows. They are superb. It's really great binge watching over the autumn. Looking forward to seeing what comes up next. But now into Oscar season, so it's all film. Looking forward to watching loads and loads of films coming up soon. There's too much actually to watch coming up in the cinema. So whatever, we'll just have to crack on and see what comes up. So thank you for watching this video today. Let me know in the comments down below how you felt about any of these shows. If you've seen them all or some of them, please let me know. Feel free to like, share and subscribe. Look forward to hearing from everyone. You can find me on Facebook at Juliette Noir Blog, and you can find me on through email at julietteisnoir@gmail.com. Look forward to hearing from you all. Take care and bye! Bye!